as you can see, I got the door open. It's actually 7 o'clock at night. It's still light out with the change in daylight savings time, of course. But it's really warm out. It's like 70 degrees. And it's still colder in here when I first came in. But now that I've opened the door, the air has come in and it's definitely equalized a lot. I would say it is the perfect temperature outside, like 70 degrees. Obviously, it's evening now, so it'll be a little bit cooler, but it's absolute perfect time. Just like yesterday, it's just a weird feeling, but I just have tons of motivation to train like I did yesterday. So I don't really know what that is. If I've just ate a lot and that's because, whatever, but like I did a decent amount of work yesterday and I guess it's not a ton of volume. And today I might do the same kind of thing. We'll have to see how I'm feeling as I'm moving. But I'm thinking maybe to do some powers and then power cleans as well, power snatches and power cleans, as well as maybe split jerks again. But if I'm really cooking, then I might just try to do like the same exact session I did yesterday. The only difference, of course, would be doing squats today, which we'll have to see whether I want to do front or back squats. But I'm kind of leaning towards probably doing some back squats, but we'll have to see because I definitely want to have good snatches and clean jerks, but I kind of just want to keep it simple and just do snatches and clean jerks. It's just normal, fun training, and do it all without straps, so just singles with them. But if I feel really good, then I maybe multiple singles at it, or I don't know. Like it's interesting because I've even taken less caffeine than I normally take for these sessions. So the pre-workout that I have, this is actually an idea, and you can let me know if you think it's a good one. The airplane is super loud, but the people have like an Amazon storefront, and I don't necessarily care about making money as like as an affiliate on Amazon thing. But if I were to set something like that up, I could put like the pre-workout that I take and the creatine, because I just buy it from Amazon, and like random other crap that I might get from Amazon to help with my training, like the chalk, just little things that instead of nobody really asks about like the pre-workout and general stuff that I take, but like you would see whatever. And then you'd be able to tell me like that's crap, take this instead, or whatever. But the stuff I get it's like from Walmart. It's a Walmart brand pre-workout, and it advertises 160 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, and there's some other what I assume are stimulants in them. I don't really pay attention to the other stuff in those, which doesn't matter, not particularly. But I think it's like it says 255 milligrams per scoop generally, which sounds like the normal amount of caffeine. But typically, if it's going to be a heavier session, then I would take 2 of those to get the 320 milligrams of caffeine. And because that's typically in heavier sessions, I would take up to 400. For like competition, I take as much as 600. But yesterday and today, I only took the 1 scoop of like 165, I think it is. And normally when that happens, like I actually notice a difference and I have less energy. But I don't know, I kind of just feel like I have that extra energy. So I can't really explain it. Maybe, sleep and stuff has gotten better. Just, honestly, I don't know. Like I've been doing everything pretty decent, but it hasn't been anything that's been that crazy different. And it's kind of nice to have 2 days in a row where I feel really good. So we'll see. I might even do some muscle stretches. So we'll kind of play it by ear. I haven't warmed up too much. I've just stretched a little bit and did a little bit of band work. I actually added some the external rotators, but like I used to do it all the time when I was pitching and playing baseball. I would do tons of band work before I threw and long toss and all that stuff. So I figured doing some of that before training is, of course, at least just a good warm up to get some blood in that area. And of course, just, working that range of motion and try to build strength all the time in that area. But we'll maybe do some muscle snatches, kind of see, but kind of feeling like putting a lot of work today like I did yesterday. And hopefully if I do go heavier, it goes perfect. And it's weird to think yesterday that snatches, I didn't have any misses and I had the miss on the clean jerk, because usually it's the opposite. I have like 20 misses in the snatches and then usually clean jerk pretty decent. But we'll get working, we'll get moving. As I think I mentioned at the beginning, but I got the door open, so you'll get to see it start to get dark as I train. And ideally as well, I'll train fast as well. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time because it's not important that I get the heavier weights. It's important that I just kind of practice the lifts and kind of get through the exercises. So we'll see how I'm feeling as I'm moving, but it's nice to have the door open for obviously the warmth and hopefully not bugs. I don't think there should be too many bugs now, but also for the fact that natural light just makes it so much brighter in here as well. So I have a good amount of light in here when I do have the thing closed, but just the extra benefit of that. So we'll get training, get moving, get rocking and rolling. So I'll talk to you at the end of this video. get my glasses on so I can talk and hear. Because as you know, if you dull one of your senses, the other ones don't work as well. And I think there's actually some scientific validity to that. But as you just saw, I did 210 for a double. As far as beltless goes, I feel like that's definitely a PR. My best ever beltless back squat, I think, is 215. So I'm pretty sure that I've definitely have doubled this weight before, but I think it's only been with a belt. And I mean, these are pretty heavy knee sleeves, but I mostly count squats as far as beltless or not, because they tend to help me a lot. And I tend to usually have things on my knees. I don't like to go super heavy without them because it's just not fun. And it's generally unpleasant. But I'm geeked about that because I went back and forth whether I actually wanted to squat today or push it to tomorrow, because I went heavy in the snatch and clean jerk, as you saw. And it was weird because the only mistake I had was actually with filming. So I actually did 140 twice on the first rep. It wasn't very good, but I went from 110 to 140, which is too big of a jump. I just need to stop doing that until I moved to the eastern bloc of Europe and get some supplementation to help with that jump. But I need to stop doing that because it's just always, I can make it, but it just never feels good to jump 30 kilos to a heavy percentage like that. So I actually made the first one. I was able to stabilize it, but I messed up the filming of it. And because it was ugly, because I didn't film it, I wanted to do it again. The second one looked and felt much better. And then the 150 felt decent. It felt about as good as I expected. And for me, cleans are pretty consistent with or without a belt. I definitely get help from it, but I usually clean pretty consistently with or without it. I do notice a difference with the jerk. So obviously with the belt, the whole lift is just going to be easier, and the jerk itself is going to be easier as well. So that tells me that, if I'm doing 150, especially after doing 145 yesterday, it's obviously a good sign. Because I went so heavy today, this was actually like the scheduled day to go heavy. Yesterday was just because I was just excited to train. So the fact that I had yesterday and today, and essentially no misses, or I guess I missed 100 today. So I missed 100 in the snatch. I made it, didn't make a very good rep, so I repeated it, missed it, and then made it again. I was playing around with the snatch with a little bit of a wider grip, still with the same like long extended arms, and it didn't really feel, I think when I missed at 100 is when I changed it back. And we're talking about going from, see if I can find a pole. We'll get my broom. I went from essentially like here to out here to back. Like, it's a very minuscule difference, but when you're thinking of your grip, particularly in the snatch, that tends to have more of an acute effect if you're moving it out. So I moved it closer to the collar, then moved it back in to where it was. And it just feels better to have it a little bit closer. I have it more in my full hand, and it just feels more secure. So I'll definitely keep it there, because then the rest of the reps felt pretty good. It felt heavy. It didn't feel like I was moving super fast, but got up to do 120, and the 120 was a struggle, and it probably was a press out. It's hard to tell with this angle. So probably was. I'm going to assume that it was, but like still made it. So I'm definitely happy with that. And then the 150 clean jerk, obviously really happy with, especially without a belt and with how difficult, just like generally not feeling fast today, which makes sense because I lifted heavy yesterday, but still feeling strong. And obviously, the squat, hitting a probable lifetime PR is obviously always a good thing, especially for me in the squat. Obviously, I hit that PR last week in the deadlift, which is probably the most unimportant lift I do that I PR. Doing a back squat, a heavy one, is obviously good, and you could argue, well, you did that deadlift, so maybe some of that strength carried over, and all of my back is my back squat. So if my back gets stronger, obviously my back squat's going to be helped by that, but my deadlift is helped more if my back. So if my squats are strong, my deadlift will get stronger. If my deadlift gets stronger, I'm just generally stronger, but it's more of an indicator that my training as a whole is going well. Because what I've noticed that as I did when I did 302 in a deadlift the first time, was after doing weightlifting for probably like a year or two. So I was doing high bar squats and front squats and all of that stuff, and that just made my legs stronger, everything stronger. So then my deadlift got stronger as a result as well, which is one of the most unimportant side effects of weightlifting. Is my deadlift just progressed without really training it aggressively. And you could argue that, when you max it out randomly, that's pretty aggressive, but I don't dedicate any programming to it. It's just when I feel like doing a heavy pull, which is the worst kind of programming you do if you're trying to increase a lift. I just happen to, everything I do helps my deadlift a bit. Bo's very angry at someone up there. He might be barking at me, to be honest, because I'm talking here, but sounds like he's barking at something up there. Although he usually knows if I'm in here, so he doesn't usually bark too much when I'm out here. But he's hearing other dogs in the hood. Anywho, so happy with that. Do some more band work before I go in and hammer the shoulders. That just has been something that's been feeling good. But one of the reasons I wanted to push the squats till tomorrow potentially was just because it's 9 o'clock, or it was 9 o'clock when I started doing them. But I guess I made the compromise just to make the big jumps and go right to 210, which I was really nervous about. I thought like doing a single, I was 100% committed. I was going to do a single, and I knew it was going to be hard if I did it. I was understandably ready to just dump it behind me if it felt weird. But the first one went up really fast, and it kind of surprised me, and it made me like think that I misloaded the weight. But as I'm looking at it, with the two reds 120, the blue 160, the other blue makes 200, and then the white makes 210. Which when I did that first rep, I was like, if I in the back of my mind, I was like, I misloaded something, and then I did the second one. And I had to check to make sure that I actually did the weight correctly, because that's probably the worst feeling as a lifter, to think you did a heavy lift and then realize you misloaded. It makes the lift feel fantastic, because then you think, wow, I moved this 200 kilogram squat really well and it was only 190. then the depression sits in, the lifter depression. But thankfully, if anything, I usually overload the weight. But I think it's been a very long time since I've misloaded a weight. Other than like you have one weight on one side, you look at it and it's not, and most of the time you notice before you even do the lift. But as far as like actually misloading a weight, I think that's something that happened more in the first few, probably when I was really young, more so. But as you get older, I suppose you just do the same weights and you're used to the same things. But yeah, quite excited about that. Tomorrow and Friday are going to be both light days, because I certainly need it, but I think it might actually be like a no hook, no foot snatch day, and actually with light weights, because obviously, it's not sustainable just to max out, to go to like super heavy weights and max out every day. And I think this is kind of, at the end of a 4-week block, like hitting 210 for a double, that's definitely an indicator that my squats have gone well. Excuse me, I had a burp. My squats are going well, and the fact, doing 120, 150, and 210 for a double in the same session, that's obviously just an indicator that everything is going in the right direction, especially doing it on a Wednesday, which is usually not the ideal day to do it. But if you're going to max out again on a Saturday, then that's usually enough time to recover. If you're doing it like 2 days before and you're expecting really good results, unless you're like a newer lifter, you're probably not going to recover, especially like if you're doing strength lifts. If you're doing the actual just classics, you tend to recover from them relatively quickly, even if it is maximal weights. But if you're adding in a back squat or a pull or something on top of that, then the recovery is obviously going to take a bit longer because of the squat. So I think if tomorrow's a bit lighter, I don't want to put a big plan on it, but lighter snatch and clean and jerk, maybe push presses. I think that will be good for the clean and jerks instead of just doing regular jerks, just doing some push presses. And then Friday, just being some powers and probably not really much of squatting or pulling. Tomorrow, I'll definitely do some snatch pulls. And Friday, we'll see if I want to do a couple front squats. Maybe I'll do like a front squat up to like 140 just for a single, just to, practice the movement. But then Saturday will be hopefully up to 125, 155 in the same session. And then really anything on top of that I do as far as, squats will just be a bonus. I don't really tend to put a lot of pressure on myself to squat really heavy on like on a day where I'm going to snatch and clean and jerk heavy, because generally like a day like this isn't typical for me. Or I think for most people, if you go pretty hard in the classics, it's not really typical that you're going to hit a PR squat after. The reverse has happened to me once. My best training total of 292, I think it was, when I did a 132 snatch and a 160 clean and jerk, I did after maxing my front squat. So that was a really bizarre day. I'm pretty sure I PR'd my front squat and then hit a training total, but I front squatted first, which is not typical of what I do. That was a very bizarre day, but it's certainly not a fun thing to do typically. It's usually better just to do the squats after, but it is something you can try and see. Because when you have a lot of XX strength like I do, it's not something that is, typically it would take a lot out of me. Like if I did this 210 first, it would take a ton out of me, but that for whatever reason that day I was cooking, and I was cooking some pretty heavy weights. It wasn't like I was, my first year in lifting doing stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure I did like a 190 or 192 front squat and 132 snatch and a 160 clean and jerk, if I remember correctly. And it might have been slightly less. It might have been like a 287 total, but I remember front squatting to essentially a maximum, or was a maximum, and then doing both with snatch, clean, jerk. Just really bizarre session. But like I said, tomorrow will be light, Friday will be light, so those won't be too exciting of sessions. And then Saturday, like I said, the whole full 125, 155, and then we reset the block. I'm kind of brainstorming what I want the next four weeks to look like after that. And because I have this information from this first block of training, I can use that to inform, how I want things to look in the week. I have the general structure of what I want it to look and what I'm thinking tentatively. And I kind of doodled this a little bit in the morning when I was at school during my plan time. So not when I was supposed to be teaching or anything, but I was kind of just tentatively looking at the volumes. And I think the first week, essentially all the weeks are going to have the same exercises. So it's going to be like block snatches, block clean and jerks, all of that stuff. But I want to start with doing 3s, 2s, and 1s. And obviously the intensity would progress from there to the third week being the most intense week with singles on each of the days. And similar thing with other lifts. There may be exceptions like, I don't know, a rack jerk. Like I'm probably not going to do triples from the rack and the jerk because you have to, re-rack those, and that tends to put a lot of strain. So there will obviously be exceptions, but for like the main lift, so like block snatch work, clean and jerk work, even block clean and jerk work, doing repetitions with that as well. Obviously squats and with push presses. So I want to continue to push those lifts because it's been correlating really well to, hitting these good numbers. So I want to continue the momentum and continue to build because I feel like, this has just been a really short time frame. And even if, the Saturday doesn't go great, like I'm definitely moving in the right direction and building that positive momentum. So I'm happy with how training is looking, how it's moving. And I just want to continue the positive vibes, but definitely need to get these weights off because you can see the bar kind of bending a little bit, which is, I guess, kind of a flex in a literal sense, but it is not good to leave a heavy weight on a barbell for, overnight because, it's a piece of metal and you don't want it to eventually bend. Not that I think 210 will necessarily, bend an illegal bar, but I don't want to test that theory. not when the cost and the ramifications of a bad test is very expensive. But with that being said, I need to go eat some food, relax, go to bed, and move on to the next day. But excited for it. So if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Sorry for rambling so much at the end, because I guess that's what happens when you're excited about training, which is just a good feeling to have. But that's it for this one. Talk to you all next video. Peace.